So you want to do a fast? Slow fast? Medium fast?
We're going to do a fast.
Love it. There's the intro. All right, who wants to start?
I'll start.
Who was it this morning? Because I put it up this morning. I can't remember.
Oh my gosh, my hair's wild tonight. It's because it's raining here today. And my face is red because I've had the heater on beneath me all day.
I've got the fire on.
That's nice.
Got a big load of wood too, actually.
Oh, it's so funny.
Yep. No,
that could be the intro.
I got a big load of wood to put in the fire.
Someone that most no,
burn, baby, burn.
I'm not going to say it. I'll wait till we get going.
Well, if you say it, and then I can just clip it.
Nah.
Just as you're about to finish it.
All right.
That's what she. Boop.
It's glitching. Stop glitching. I've got you back. Okay.
I got your back too.
Thanks.
Peace out.
A-Town. We've just had about 7 intros in the space of 1 minute.
I think that just needs to be a blooper reel right there.
Awesome. All right, let's do it. Do you want me to intro?
Go for it.
I'm so fixated on your face right now. I think I might be a little bit crazy.
Good face to be fixated on.
All right, let's do this.
Okay, shake it off.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Remind podcast. I'm Dr. Ashley Morland and I'm joined by David Masterton, and today we're doing a fast. So, at the moment...
That was very fast. Thank you. Great episode.
See you guys. No. So the reason that we're recording this episode is because at the time of recording, I am in the middle of a water fast. And David and I were chatting around why I was doing it and what my weird experience has been so far, even just in preparing for the water fast. And my thing is I will never ask a client to do something that I myself haven't done or haven't been or wouldn't be willing to do. And
Gotcha.
I feel like this is a really important thing to talk about because I'm learning about it. I'm by no means an expert on it. So if you're coming to this episode thinking you're going to get expertise on fasting, by no means am I an expert on it. I'm learning myself. I'm really fortunate to have been learning from Tyler Tolman. So go and check him out. He's got amazing resources. Nice. And yeah, we're just going to have a chat around why I'm doing it, what the benefits are, what my experiences has been so far, and Dave's had a bit of experience too. So
yep, in the past, not so recent.
Yeah.
But fasting, it's incredible. And for those that aren't aware, and I do need to warn you, dad joke coming in, water fasting is not the removal of water from your diet. It's removal of everything else except water, or maybe liquids. Are you having like black coffee or black tea?
Yeah, I can. So I've got a beautiful teapot here at the moment, and I'm just having a liver tea at the moment, like a liver cleansing tea. It's got a whole bunch of beautiful things in it. But so nothing that has any calories whatsoever. So you can't have sugar or milk in your coffee or tea, and even coffee, like given that the idea is to get rid of toxins out of your body, having caffeine can be...
Add some caffeine.
Can be a little bit tricky, especially if you're going through detox processes. But I will tell you, I'm still having a daily coffee.
Yeah, and look...
I'm having it the other way. I'm doing coffee enemas.
Oh, right. So we're not drinking them. We're taking them
coffee, but doing coffee enemas.
It's not coming in from the north. It's coming in from the south.
Right.
Is what you're trying to say.
Right. So we're not having coffee the normal way, but having coffee enemas, which still actually does give you a bit of a hit of caffeine, but it's more
It gives you a lift me up.
yes. um,
Gotcha.
but again, not a super big expert on coffee enemas either. But from my understanding, they really help to stimulate the production of bile and helps to stimulate the clearing out of toxins that are being pushed out the body because toxins
Jeez,
get
yeah.
dumped into the colon. And so, by what I've kind of my preparation phase has been a lot of like greens. I've had a greens powder that is really important for
Mm,
building the blood. I've done a 4-day pretty intense colon cleanse, and that's got like bentonite clay and buckwheat and psyllium husks. And what that does is the bentonite clay kind of helps to bind all the toxins, and the other stuff clears you out and actually it's like a little bit of roughage to really clean it out. And
mm.
that in combination with the coffee enemas helps to stimulate everything and remove it. So all the toxins are being pushed out as well as bound up and collected together, and then out it goes.
Nice. So, how long are you doing the fast for? Is it like a 72
I've
hour
committed to
or
72 hours, but I've also told myself that I'll see how I'm feeling. I'm open to doing longer, but the
mm,
idea initially was 72 hours.
nice,
Um, that would be, I
nice.
am at 25 hours at the moment. So,
So you just ticked over one day. Look at that, day
yeah,
2.
25 hours at the moment. But having said that, like the 4 days on the colon cleanse stuff is minimal eating anyway. Like even before that, it
Mm,
was just fresh fruits, fresh vegetables, no meat products, no dairy, no, oh gosh, pretty much nothing else other than just fruits and veggies and as raw as
gotcha.
possible. So, yeah, that was interesting
Wowzers.
actually. Even just starting that and starting the greens powder and the Shilajit. So Shilajit is 80% fulvic acid. Oh my
Mm,
gosh, the toxins that were pushing out of my body, my tongue, if you like drink a drink that's way too hot and it burns your tongue, and then you just have that
mm.
stinging sensation for days. That was my tongue, except 10 times. And I ended up feeling like I was getting blisters down the side of my tongue. I had big black circles under my eyes. Um, I had this like really hardcore electricity buzzing sound in my head. I was struggling to fall asleep. Um, what else was I having? That's probably the main things.
Well, for me, the not being able to fall asleep, especially on the first day of a fast, it's not to the point of insomnia, but it's a very hard trying to get to sleep is very
Yeah.
difficult because I'd find that my brain would just be not necessarily on fire, but just electric.
Mhm.
It's just really sort of running. But before we get into my experiences, how are you feeling emotionally? How are you feeling? Because I mean, you got obviously body symptoms of
Mm.
everything that's sort of going on.
Yeah.
Anything coming up?
So,
Anything?
yeah, great question. Because quite often, like emotions will literally be stored in at the cellular level. So as our cells start pushing out
Mm,
toxins, it can actually start pushing out some of those negative emotions. So people can literally release trauma through this process.
mm,
More so for really long fasts. Like there's people who do 7-day, 10-day, 21-day, 40-day fasts, and that's when you're
dang.
really, really, really pushing out some emotion. For me,
Mm,
the prep phase, when I first started that, I was really short. I was irritable and snappy and really dysregulated. And I felt like I was almost all day at the cusp of boiling over. So normally I
gotcha.
feel really grounded and I feel like my bucket has a lot of space and a lot of capacity
Mm,
just for little stresses throughout the day and like demands of life. The first
mm,
day in particular, I felt snappy. I just didn't have much capacity, and I just didn't want anyone to want me or need me for anything. I wanted to be left alone, and I was like that kind of
Mm.
stuff. But also I
Yeah.
was probably at the peak of feeling pretty rubbish as well. Um,
Oh, so these 2 things were coming at the same
yeah, it was at
time?
the same time.
Okay.
It wasn't a fun moment.
Because you'd pre-planned to do the fast at this point in
Yeah.
time. It wasn't just sort of something where it's like, "I feel like crap. You know what? How about I have a fast as well?"
Yeah. Well, it was really
Gotcha.
amazing because I've been on a journey of trying to recover from mold illness, and I've had
Mm.
symptoms for the last few years. I finally, at the start of this year, was so sick of feeling sick in my own home that well, first of all, got a building biologist to spend a day here and actually go through my home, and we found pretty insane levels of black mold in one of our bathrooms. So we sealed that up.
Mm.
Haven't used that since, and then it's just been me trying to get my body feeling a bit healthier. So I finally got referrals to an immunologist and an allergist to try and get on top of my immune system has just been crazy. And then we went overseas, and then I was away for a business mastermind, and then I was away again.
Mm.
But my thing was, when I get back at mid-April, I'm going to call and book the appointment with the specialists. And when I went to the business mastermind, Tyler Tolman was a guest speaker. And it literally
Gotcha.
felt like an answer to a prayer when he got up there and he was speaking about all the benefits of fasting and what happens and
Mm.
the immune reset that happens. So, in a very, very brief nutshell, basically the first 8 to 12 hours, the body goes into nutritional ketosis. So, in this period, we start to release like stem cells, and those stem cells can take the place of any cell in the body. So one of the benefits of fasting is a huge release of stem cells over a period of time, that if you have nervous system damage, MS, fibromyalgia, anything where cells are damaged, then fasting can help those conditions, right?
Mm.
Because the stem cells can regenerate myelin. They can regenerate pretty much any cell in the body. So another thing is that the pituitary starts to get stimulated. So I guess like once it realizes we don't have access to food, it starts to burn fat, hence nutritional
Mm.
ketosis. So when it starts to burn fat, our human growth hormone goes up. And so when our human growth hormone goes up, it basically drives the pituitary to release it. So that's when people tend to start feeling pretty good. And then I slept through my first 8 to 12 hours. So I guess if I had been
Gotcha.
awake, I
Yeah.
probably would have been feeling pretty good. Um, and then from 12 to 16 hours, there's a process called autophagy. And what that is like the cells, basically like Pac-Man style, start gobbling up any rogue cells. So that's where you can start to eliminate visceral fat and any bad fat, like from around the organs, scar tissue, old proteins that are stuck in the liver, or acids that have built up.
Mm.
It's when it starts to remove things like microbes and mycotoxins and yeast and fungus and just all that sort of stuff that is making us sick. Um, Within 24 hours, we're in full ketosis, so the body is purely running on our fat. And that is really helpful for like insulin sensitivity. So I absolutely know that I was becoming insulin resistant because was starting to get skin tags, and skin tags are a
Yep.
sign of insulin resistance.
Hell
Um,
yeah.
then at 48 hours, the stem cells are stopped up to like being able to be uptaken anywhere else in the body. So that's pretty amazing. And then at 72 hours, that's where I wanted to get to, because at 72 hours, you basically get an entire immune system reset. And that's really important to me because the effect of the mycotoxins on my immune system has made me reactive to everything. It's like my immune system has been so sensitive and so angry that, like, someone wearing perfume was giving me really serious, like, symptoms, and my glands would swell up, and it actually
Mm,
started to affect my ability to participate in life outside of home, because at home we don't use chemicals. But you go anywhere else, and my immune system was so angry that I would start having these immune responses. So that's a rundown of what my body's going to do, at least in the next,
mm.
well, so far 25 hours, and we'll see how much longer I get to. But
Well, it's interesting that you said about how when you would go out and then chemicals and all
mm,
of that would almost sort of set you off instantly. It's almost like your immune system doesn't have capacity. Your immune system's bucket is reasonably full.
totally. And that's because I have
And
mycotoxins in my bloodstream.
well, here's the funny thing I learned about fasting because I've done it several times. Haven't done it recently.
How
In the
long did you
last
fast for
maybe
when you did it?
my longest was five days.
Always water?
Uh, it would be water, black coffee, and electrolytes because that's super important. If
Yes.
you don't have electrolytes when you're fasting, you will hit a wall,
Mm,
which is incredible.
yeah.
And so one thing that kept me going through fasting and doing it constantly back in the day, and look, big note, we're talking about extended fasting. We're not talking about
Intermittent
intermittent
fasting.
fasting,
Yeah.
which I've never stopped doing.
Yeah. Well, there's benefits to
So
that.
so today my first something to eat was like we're recording at 7 o'clock at night. My first something to eat was like 5 o'clock today. The
Yeah.
whole day, nothing to eat.
Awesome.
Um, but
Do you do that every day? Are you a 1 meal a day faster?
generally, it's two meals a
Yeah.
day.
Okay.
Um, when I'm feeling, if I don't feel like eating, I just don't.
Yeah.
So when I'm fasting, it'll be electrolytes, but not the electrolytes that like you got to stay away from the ones that actually have glucose in it
Yes.
because that just
Yeah,
so
exactly. So,
your hydrolytes and all of that
yeah, exactly. So,
it doesn't do it
what I'm
because the key thing
having
about
is just various salts. So, Celtic sea
yeah,
salt, Himalayan rock salt, and Epsom salt.
beautiful. Beautiful.
Yeah.
I use this thing called Element that you could get out of the US, so LMNT, and it's got
Mhm.
a selection of different powders in it. It does have a little sweetener in it, but it's I think
Like
it's
alcohol based or something.
some stevia based or some sort of
Yeah.
plant based sweetener, and I would use that.
Mm.
But the thing that we've been sort of taught from very young: wake up, break your
Breakfast is the
fast,
most important
breakfast.
meal of the day. So says the
Exactly. And
cereal
what's
companies who just had to increase their sales.
cereal? And that's the thing. It's sort of like bacon and eggs bad because cholesterol bad. So what's really good for you? Cereal.
Yeah.
For some reason, Siri's just decided to chime in on my phone. Um,
Oh, because you said
it
cereal. I
just
thought you said Siri.
that's it. And so here's the thing: your body's constantly, or your between your mouth and your bottom. You think about it; it's constantly working, except the time you're asleep. Because by
Mm,
the time it goes in, and then by the time it comes out the other end, that's a whole journey.
yeah.
It's not like, from this point, you put it in, chew, 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 chew,
Yeah.
glop, and then you forget
On
about it.
that, again, this might not be true, guys. I'm not an expert in this, but I read that we can hold up to 8 meals worth of food in our digestive tract.
Damn. Well, what we will do is we'll put in the show notes or the description some people who are authorities on this. The
Mhm.
person I've listened to a lot is called Dr. Jason Fong,
Yeah.
who's an absolute just he's mental in far. He's so good.
Yeah.
Um, but the thing is, we never give our digestive system a break.
Yeah.
You think about it, if we're constantly nibbling, constantly, there's always something going on. So, what's our pancreas doing?
Mm.
especially when there's carbs involved when it comes to
Even the so-called
sugar.
good carbs, even fructose.
Well, I mean, fructose in fruit, great. But you got to remember how evolved has our body come from 10,000 years
Mm.
ago
It still affects the
versus,
pancreas, though. Absolutely, it does.
well, I mean, the only way that we stop ourselves dying from too much glucose in our blood system is insulin.
Mm.
And all insulin does is takes the glucose, attaches to it. Well, actually, it unlocks fat cells so you can pump the sugar in.
Mm.
So, and we store sugar in, well, I mean, in the liver. It's stored. Some is stored in
In
muscles.
muscle, yeah.
And so when we're constantly running on glucose, it's also an inflammatory, believe it or not.
Mhm.
And
Yes, it is.
also, I've heard that cancer can only survive in a glucose enriched environment.
Yes.
And so
You can
suddenly,
starve the cancer cells. Mm.
but when we go into something called fasting or we go into ketosis, we actually have to deplete the body completely of glucose.
Mhm.
And to do that, it takes a little while, and it's not pleasant. But there's two things that the body needs, and don't quote me on this. Again, we'll reference people who really know what
Who
they're
know what
doing.
they're talking
But the brain and the heart need glucose.
Yeah.
However, the funny thing is, our body can make glucose from within our body.
Mhm.
It can take
Yeah.
protein
Yep.
and turn it into glucose
Mhm.
and give it and create it as we need it.
Yep. I can confirm
And
that.
the be-
That bit's true.
oh, great, great, great. I don't ask Dr. Dave. I'm not Dr. Dave. Um, and so all of these great benefits come from it. However, society has been sort of, well, no, it needs to be 3 round meals a day, breakfast, lunch, dinner. And the most important thing about fasting, which I've found, is if you think rest is important, if you think lying on the couch is important, any form of rest is important when it comes to recovery. When was the last time your digestive system got a decent rest?
Yeah.
And we're not just talking about sleeping at night,
Yep.
going beyond that, because a lot of people think I have to eat to not be tired. And so it's like, okay, well, imagine, because for me, my first 24 hours of fasting, energy levels start to take off.
Mm.
However, when you're coming off a glucose hit, you start tanking and before you take off again.
Yeah.
So when you're allowed to do that and autophagy kicks in, autophagy is one of those things where basically when there's an abundance of food and energy, guess what? Every cell, doesn't matter if it's an absolutely fit, amazing cell or big and lazy and whatever, everyone's got enough to survive.
Mm.
Autophagy is actually Darwinism at its best.
Yeah.
Only the fittest will
Survival
survive.
of the fittest. Yep.
Exactly. So what
Literally
tends to
starts.
happen, yeah, they basically,
Yeah.
so the weak ones are taken, all the folded proteins get taken out and all of that.
Yeah.
And the coolest thing, because people are like, well, I don't want to lose muscle mass. mTOR, which is like
Yep.
it
Basically, your
it
protein
it,
pathway.
it increases to protect your muscles.
Yeah.
Now,
And you get a
the difference
stimulation of the
between
pituitary to increase human growth hormone. If paired with high intensity exercise, you get a up to 2,000% increase in human growth hormone.
it's
It's
smashing.
ridiculous.
And some people say, well, I won't do that because I can't starve myself. Well, actually, no, you're just refueling yourself
All right. Well, it's
because
refueling
starvation,
slash adapting to a different fuel model. It's like,
well,
you
yes,
know, when I was a kid, when you were a kid, there was a
yeah,
season of where it was really popular to convert a petrol car to a gas car.
LPG,
Yeah,
yep, yep,
it's
the
similar.
two
I sort
tanks,
of see it as
yeah,
being a similar thing.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's really important to be able to be fuel adaptive because, yes, you can run on glucose, but yes, you should be able to run on fat as well. So to be able to do both.
Yeah. I think the other
And that's where,
interesting thing for me is even just on that, like every single animal in the animal kingdom stops eating when they're sick or injured.
and so do we.
We don't
You
though.
ever, you ever get, Well, have you ever just felt so sick you just don't want to eat?
It's very rare. Honestly, it's very rare. But like even if I have a chest infection or a throat infection or anything, according to this, if I fasted for 3 days, my body would drastically increase the speed and what else? Intensity of my healing, and I would get
Mm,
over it so much faster. But instead, when I'm sick, I crave toast with melted
mm.
butter. I crave all like the crunchy comfort foods when I'm sick, which is the absolute opposite to what my body needs.
Well, look, I've always found that, and my biggest struggle, and it still remains a struggle at the moment, which is when I'm putting something in my mouth, it's either to please my mouth or it's to please my body. There's
Mhm.
generally not a lot of things that please my mouth and please my body.
Yeah.
Normally, stuff that pleases the mouth is all the great crunchy stuff, all the
Mhm.
big flavors,
Sensory
the
seeking.
fatty and the crispy and all of that. Where the stuff that my body actually, but by the way, once it goes from here into everything else, well, I'm now just paying for whatever that is.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the body has to digest it.
Mhm.
So comfort eating, big thing, and for me, fasting, if I wasn't watching about autophagy and learning about how the digestive system works and how we create energy, then I'm thinking about something else. I may as well be thinking about something that's reinforcing
Yeah.
what I'm doing.
Yeah.
But even that knowledge by itself is not good enough because I have all this knowledge, yet I still not doing too much with it at the moment.
Mm.
But
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
a season.
Well, I mean,
Um,
for me, it's experiential. I have done some reading, I have done some learning. The idea of ketosis and mTOR pathways and all that sort of stuff isn't new to me. I have a number of times done keto for extended periods of time, and that was the strangest thing for me because my body always responded so well to a ketogenic diet, and
mm,
over the last couple of years, it just didn't. I felt crap on a
it's a
keto diet.
change.
And so
Yeah.
that's when I was starting to think, okay, there's something that's changed in my gut composition. There's something that's changed in my body. And I have always been like fairly against a vegan diet from a body chemistry perspective.
Mm,
And going to so basically the prep for this, as I mentioned before, is essentially a vegan diet. Um,
gotcha.
and, I've actually really enjoyed it. I've really enjoyed the fruits and vegetables.
Mm,
That's been surprising for me because my dad was a meat worker. I grew up like living
gotcha.
on meat and always was like, I
Mm,
would never live without meat. So maybe that might change a little bit for me. I think I've been reflecting a little bit on, well, where to from here. I think there's going to be times maybe cycling through, not on a bike, but cycling through seasons of maybe veggie vegan eating
mm,
and including some meat in other seasons is possibly good for our gut microbiome. I don't know, I can't back that up, but that's what I'm leaning towards, is that these little seasons of constantly adapting my body and giving it nutrition in different forms, I think that feels good for me at the moment, but
mm,
we'll just wait and see. And I guess the reason I wanted to talk about this is obviously it's what I'm experiencing right now, so it's real time. But also, like I said, I will never ask a client to do something that I myself haven't done or wouldn't be willing to do. And I'm really, so far, I mean, with the difference in my brain fog, and to be honest, when I got COVID the first time, so I didn't get the jab, but when I got COVID the first time, I had a level of cognitive decline and brain fog that
mm.
definitely improved since, but it hasn't ever been what it used to be. And I
Okay.
didn't have the mental sharpness that I used to have, and I could be like, I'd forget things a lot. I had to change my whole process of how I did life because relying
Mm,
on my memory and I just knew that was going to fail. So what I have felt this week has been a level of mental sharpness and clarity and mental performance that I haven't felt in a long time. And that's exciting for me because it almost felt like a runner losing their legs. My
When you're
when that
before.
happened to me,
Yeah.
and I remember being in tears saying to my husband, like, it got to the point where, you know, meat, hundreds of dollars worth of meat would go off in our fridge every week because I didn't have the mental capacity. I literally did not have the cognitive function to look in the fridge and work out what date the meat went off and what date today was, and if I was going to cook it,
Mm.
what else I was going to cook with it, and should it go in the fridge or stay or go in the freezer. And like, we were just throwing meat out left, right, and center. And that's a silly
Yeah.
example, but like that is a
Mm.
real life example.
Still an example, yeah.
Yeah, and so we're talking years ago now. So we're like when obviously COVID was happening, and
It's like probably
it
the
was
height of it was
very
2020,
scary.
yeah.
Yeah, 2020. It was
Mm.
scary for me because my mental performance has been my superpower, like, my whole
Mm.
life. So to have lost that was really hard. Now, obviously, I was doing a lot better, but it hadn't felt that, like, just super highway clarity in a really long time. And I've had glimpses of that, which is exciting for me.
Exciting, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think it comes back to capacity, like we sort of talked about it earlier. If you're if you're feeling like crap or you're trying to work through something that's maybe emotional and your physical capacity isn't quite there,
Mhm.
it just feels that extra, I for me, if I'm feeling down or and I'm talking like physically,
Yeah.
and I've been like the last week or so, I can't put my finger on it, but there's just something that's I've been feeling sluggish,
Mhm.
a little bit sore, all of those things, but nothing
Yeah.
else. You don't generally have much capacity for other things. As you said before, like when
Yeah.
you first started doing the fast, you're just a little bit more snappy, just a
Mhm.
little bit more. You're ready to sort of let someone know what you're
Yeah.
thinking if it's not in a pleasant way. And so if you're dealing with that constantly and you're trying to heal or life sort of saying, we need to go this way, and you're going, well, I'm comfortable this way, and then you're still trying to deal with physical symptoms. This is something that, and again, if you're not sure, speak to your doctor, speak to your GP. We are not experts. However,
Doctors
don't
aren't
listen, don't
experts in
like
fasting either,
listen
by the
to
way.
us.
So go talk to
So
whoever
listen,
you need to talk to.
yeah, like listen to us. Don't believe us. Do your own
Yeah.
research, right? But you could imagine if it's sort of like I don't, I wish I felt better. Well, here's something that doesn't require you to be physically anything.
Mm.
You don't have to be able to get out and run. You don't have to get out and walk. You
Yeah.
could do this any time of the day.
Yep.
It's even if you're shortening your eating window
Mm.
and quite literally go from your digestive system has two modes. It's either feasting or fasting.
Mm.
That's it. There's no in between. And so if you can shorten your feasting window, then it gives you time, or it gives your body more time to actually do the fasting and to actually clean up. That's the only time it's allowed to do it.
Yeah.
So the only time the body's allowed to do it is when there's no insulin available
Mhm.
in the body.
For glucose.
So when you can, yeah,
Yeah.
well, when you can have that time and you can sort of push through it just that little bit, again, if you're worried, see a doctor. Um, it might give you a bit more capacity to work on the mental stuff
Oh, absolutely. Yeah,
because that brain
I
fog is
agree.
real.
And this was even before this fasting stuff came up. One of the things I've been focusing on a lot more now in my initial consultations is lifestyle stuff around. I want to know what sort of things you're eating. I want to know how long you spend on your phone or on screens all day. I want to know what your
Doom
sleep routine.
scrolling.
Yeah, because I mean, this is a whole other episode, but there's so
Mm,
much in that. And so when I have an initial consultation with someone, I will literally give them a list of things to clean up the lifestyle side of things that contribute to nervous system dysregulation and work on the mind body stuff. And it's a red flag. It's a little bit of a test, if I'm honest, because if I say, hey, how bad do you want this to change? And they say it has to, I'm a 10 out of 10. And then I say, okay, I want you to do this, 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 and this. And then they don't do it. Well, then they're not a 10 out of 10 of that desperation to change. So it's a little bit of a flagging system.
Oh, look, I mean, a little bit. Like if you were to take me, for example, and so say, how much time do I spend on the phone looking at TikTok? I could easily do it in bed for 3 hours before I go to sleep.
Yeah.
Is that healthy? No.
But
It's
are you
something
at
that
a 10 out of 10, I can't do this anymore and my life is imploding? No.
no,
No.
no, no,
So
no.
therefore,
But last week it was sort of like, and it's not as dramatic as this, but it's sort of like I was having a death of 1,000 cuts.
yeah.
I was just constantly getting like this,
Yeah.
and so I get those times where I go, "Why am I doing this?
Mm.
Like, what? Am I over it? Yes. Okay, geez, like what's sort of going on?" So there are some things that I've been leaning into, which are unhealthy.
Yeah.
That's doom scrolling,
Mhm.
100%, hand up right now as I record this video, and still comfort eating.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hence why, for those following us from the start, have noticed that my face has less edges on it
So does
compared to the
mine.
first video. But I see it as a season. So, and I'm not expecting anyone, including myself, to be perfect at that time. Like,
Yeah.
you got to trust your gut.
Well done. I agree with you wholeheartedly.
Mm.
I think the only other thing that just popped into my head is, we've spoken a lot about digestion and our digestive system having a break and all that kind of stuff. But I think above and beyond that for me has been, we went on a journey many years ago with my son around understanding
Mm.
chemicals and the gut brain axis and food intolerances and all this kind of stuff. And what a lot of people don't understand is that there is a very, like, higher than ever toxic load in our body. Our drinking water has chlorine, has fluoride, has all these things in it, which,
Plastics, even the
yeah, yep,
microplastics
microplastics.
everywhere.
So even
Yeah.
our tap water, which not only do we consume, which isn't probably as bad because, well, it is because it dumps on our liver, but then we have showers where our skin pores open and actually absorb all these chemicals. We've got
Mm-hmm.
chemicals in our makeup, in our body products, our shampoos, our conditioners. We've got
Yep.
chemicals
Cleaning.
everywhere. Then you
Mm.
buy some mayonnaise because it's convenient, and then you look at the back and it's got 17 ingredients, but you can make mayonnaise in 4. Like,
Well, and not even that. When you think about oils, right?
mhm.
And don't get me started on this because, again, I'm not a doctor,
Oh, Dave.
but it's a difference. It's the difference between polyunsaturated and saturated
Yeah.
fats, right? It's like saturated fats is essentially has been
Yeah.
demonized since the 50s,
Mhm.
about the fact it causes heart attacks. However, when you look at the the unsaturated fats are a whole lot more unstable. And so here's the thing: and this is a theory that I've sort of held on to, my own theory, but again, I'm not following it at the moment, is that you put carbs with anything, it's going to hurt.
Mhm.
And so, and they've do your own research, but before we started prolific agriculture back 10,000 years, you're finding skulls with full sets of teeth,
Yeah. Oh, I just
right?
got back from
So
Egypt and, we went to the mummy museum. It was like, these are mummies like
there was no
thousands of years
there was
old.
no fluoride in that water.
No. Mm,
So it's sort of, there are all these things.
I
But
totally
again, do
agree.
your own research.
Mm,
It's one of those things where not everything we say is going to resonate. You don't have to agree. I don't want you to agree.
yeah.
If it resonates, do your own research,
Basically, if
find
you're a
your own way with it.
dentist and you love fluoride, you may not agree. No, I'm joking. So, yeah,
See, fluoride helps, but not, in my mind, not to the level that it's out there.
it's a known
So,
neurotoxin. At the end of the day, it's a known neurotoxin. So I guess the point that I wanted to make is, look, I am absolutely, by no stretch of the imagination, a non-chemical person.
I
I
mean, we live in the environment.
live
It
in the
happens. Yeah.
environment, right? There are things like, we use shampoos and conditioners and body washes and all that sort of stuff that
Yep.
are low toxic load. And there are absolutely things you can do to support the
Mm.
lack of input of toxins into your body. Even having really good filtered, clean, really good water, drinking water is a great start. So rather than even just the digestive stuff and giving it a rest and all that sort of thing, for me, there's a real desire, and I'm probably going to commit to fasting somewhat regularly, maybe even once a month,
Mm.
just to push out the toxins. The side effects and the toxic, the signs of releasing toxicity that I had blew me away. I couldn't
Mm.
believe how hardcore my body was detoxing and pushing out toxins in those first few days. And that was a big wake up call to me, because I used to do juice fasts and stuff years ago, and I haven't in years. And that was a big wake up call for me. So part of it is the toxins and also healing the gut, because when we have damage to our gut lining, and that can be from
Mm.
like medications, it can be from stress, it can be from the toxic load of everything we just spoke about.
Antibiotics.
Yeah, our gut lining gets almost like, imagine a net, where that net is designed to keep certain things in and let other things flow past. Well, we've got
Big fish stay in, little fish come out.
yeah,
Yep.
so we've got this blood-brain barrier, and the gut lining, if you imagine the net analogy, when it's damaged from all of these toxins and even high acidity in the body and all that sort of stuff, things that would normally be kept in start sneaking through the holes, if you like. And this is what we call like
The
the,
big
the
fish go get out
concept
the
of
big
leaky
holes.
gut.
Yeah.
And so this
Yeah.
is how intolerances come about to foods and chemicals that we weren't previously
Mm.
intolerant to. So that is really big. So something I see a lot is salicylate intolerance, amine intolerance, glutamate intolerance, intolerance to, the MSG is artificial glutamate, but to preservatives. So most
Mm.
bread you buy from the supermarket has a preservative that, if you have a damaged gut, is going to absolutely annihilate your brain.
Mm.
So there's all these kinds of things, and it gets a lot more complex. But maybe we can pop some resources in the description, and we'll send you off onto various rabbit holes, and you can have a look around, because
Yeah.
you get
See what fits.
a hold of this stuff. I mean, don't get me wrong. This is one episode out of many, many, many on the mind body stuff and the trauma stuff and the healing and all that sort of
Mm.
stuff, which is our bread and butter. And that's where we feel comfortable. But having this occasional conversation on topics that feed into our overall holistic sense of well-being, I think, is super important. So it wasn't
Mm.
such a fast episode in the end, Dave, because
We're expecting it to be a fast
we were
fast,
expecting it just
but
to be fast. Turns
it's
out
been
we
a
had some.
slow fast.
Stuff to talk about.
Exactly. But look, I hope you enjoyed it, guys. It's just one of those things when we'll be talking about how do we create capacity so we can work through the stuff that doesn't feel great at the
Yeah.
time. This is just a bit of our own experiences, and most importantly, take what resonates,
Leave the
leave what doesn't.
rest. Yeah. Love
And
it.
we'll check the show notes, the description, and let us know
Thanks
what
for joining
what did
us.
you what did you take from it? Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Let us know
Till
if you're
next
a
time.
faster. Let us know how, your experiences with it. And if you want to try a
Mm,
fast, can't wait to hear
mm.
from you.
The best thing about a fast, do nothing.
Yeah, that's my plan for the weekend.
All right. Till next week.
Bye.
Bye bye.